Hey guys, it's been a minute, it's been a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a minute. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very excited to be here today.
Me as well.
Excited to get into this. It's your favorite long distance besties. It's
And
Layla,
I'm Tina.
and this is the Reality Podcast. Welcome back.
Welcome
Welcome
back.
if you're new. Today we're gonna have a fun little discussion about men, but specifically in the view of male manipulators, because I don't know about y'all, but on my For You page, I've been seeing a lot of um men come onto the platform doing like these little skits of like male manipulator starter pack, something like that, and they're like reading like Sylvia Plath and drinking a matcha or something, and they have like the goatee mustache combo, like just the basic male manipulator starter pack. So to me, that really got me thinking, like, okay, so y'all are aware, but what are we doing about it? Like as men, what are we doing about it? Are we holding each other accountable? Are you holding yourself accountable? And because it's like it's a joke, but it's like, who are you manipulating at the end of the day? So
Exactly.
to me, it begs the question, like, okay, so now that we're aware, what do we do about that? Um, yeah, I don't see much being done other than that being made a mockery. And I mean, I'd be laughing, not gonna lie.
It is
It's
funny.
funny. It's funny. But we're overthinkers over here. So
We are. We're yappers. What can we say?
what can I say? I saw an opportunity and I took it. Um, so just to start off, I wanted to touch base with this book that I found, and it's so good. I think everybody should read it. It's called A History of Masculinity from Patriarchy to Gender Justice by Yvonne Jablonka. Um, Great book. It reads you for filth, honestly. So let's just start with the quote. Men have been at the forefront of every battle, except for the battle for equality of the sexes. Their dreams have spearheaded every liberation except for the emancipation of women. With few exceptions, they have grown comfortable with the patriarchy workings of society. They have gained from it. Although it has been shaped by millennia of stereotypes and institutions, the traditional model of masculinity is outdated. It is both old-fashioned and harmful because it is a mechanism for dominating not only women, but also men whose masculinity is deemed illegitimate. Our dream for the future is to invent new masculinities so that they mesh with the rights of women and undo patriarchal hierarchies. Ha-
Period.
so we know that masculinity is a social construct, right? Right. So in this time, I feel like we're seeing a bit of a shift in masculinity. Um, the men are drinking dirty chais, they're drinking matcha,
Who's gonna
they're
be the
reading
boys?
Jane Austen.
Who's gonna be the boys?
She said it, y'all, not me. But it just begs the question, is this performative? Like now that we're living in a society where it's a little bit more, open to do those things as men, love that for y'all, be who you are. But it's like, it's giving performatism, performativeness,
Yeah.
performativity. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
giving
very,
performativeness.
yeah,
It does
performativeness.
sound wrong.
Yeah, it does sound wrong. I don't know. That's what it's giving. So, it just makes me think like, what are we doing at our core to get us to the place where we need to be so that not only is it just a joke of this new age masculinity, but it's also embedded in our values and our principles and our ethics. Um, so that's why even in the book, when it's saying the traditional model of masculinity is outdated and old-fashioned and harmful, it's because, well, it is like, what a man is supposed to be or what the idea of masculinity has shaped for men to follow is harmful for self-expression and authenticity, and also just how they show up in society through basic values like empathy and compassion and or just passion in general. Like y'all don't be passionate about nothing sometimes. Okay. So
And
it's just like,
mhm.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I think it's also rooted in this idea where masculinity, because of the society we live in today, it's no longer, it cannot be the same because look at the prices outside. You can't afford that. So suddenly, what used to be a man as a provider, what used to be a man as a man who could support his family and his woman could stay home, you can no longer do that in today's economy. So now you don't feel masculine because that's what you were told masculinity was rooted in.
Mm. And I like that point because the idea that men were told masculinity being rooted in money as a means of proximity to power, even though it takes out the ethos, and you
Exactly.
can't have one without the other. So just focusing on money without focusing on the empathy and the emotional intelligence and just becoming a well-rounded human being, um, it's bred this idea of what a man is supposed to be, completely removing the feminine from it, as if the masculine and feminine are not a balanced divine union. So
And
now we're
yeah.
left with men mistreating women or disregarding them altogether, just lack of respect completely.
I think that always existed. I think because we had a time where women couldn't work, that was more so accepted because, oh, he's stressed
Hmm.
about working. Oh, he has to support his family. But
Hmm.
when you were in a system where women couldn't get a job and men were the main owners of I mean, the main breadwinners of the home, they could get away with beating their wives. They could get away with being rude to their wives. They
Because
could
they
get
were
away
property
with
at that point. So,
exactly. And women didn't have much power to speak up. So it's
hmm
not that these problems are new, it's just that these problems are now being put to the forefront and now being highlighted as issues they already were.
I
They
think it's
already were
also
issues.
right. I think it's also because, like, with the shift in the whole reason, like you said, due to the shift in masculinity because of the economy and society, now because men have tied that idea of masculinity so closely to their identity, they're feeling lost and kind of just disrupted because they assume that 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 power is something that they're entitled to over women, but it's not that it ever had anything to do with you as a man having power. It was the promise of power linked to you following this idea of masculinity.
Exactly.
So now that we're seeing that shift in masculinity, it makes you just wonder, okay, this is a step in the right direction, sure.
Exactly.
But how is this actually shifting our perspectives on women, on feminism as a whole, you
I
know?
think now it's they're forced to because now
Mm,
when it comes to relationships, they're not feeling needed. And the reason they're
mm,
not feeling needed is because women have a point where they can make money for themselves. So now, no, now I don't need your money. Now I need you to actually be a full human being. Now I need you to
right.
have empathy.
The
Now I
needs are
need
just
you
different.
exactly. Before, all a man had to do was have a job and take care of his family. That's all he needed to
Hmm.
do be
Those are literally the
eligible
standards.
to be eligible to have a partner.
Hmm.
Um, and that said partner, the woman, she took on a lot of the roles of the emotional neglect.
Mm,
She took that on because she had to.
hmm.
That's why even when I see a lot of men talk about, oh, why aren't women traditional women anymore? Though traditional women were suffering. They were
Literally on happy
suffering in
pills.
silence. And
Hmm.
now we're wanting women to continue to suffer in silence. I don't understand.
And it's like all for what? For your ego?
Yeah,
Like, in what way, shape, or form is this supposed to, y'all don't care about women's happiness, y'all don't care about women, just
right.
seeing them as whole people, so it's like, where where do we go from here?
Hmm.
Even like in certain aspects of relationships and things of that nature, it's like, okay, y'all have this idea as to what a traditional relationship is, but what, we're just not living in that time anymore. We're not living in that time. And I think we as people, as individuals, are starting to like reflect that. It just needs to be reflected in our society because we do still very much live in a patriarchal society. And even with like women's liberation and everything, we focused a lot, especially because of the state where women were in at the time. We were just so indebted to men compared to like where we are now. So we focus a lot on becoming men's equals, rather than
Hmm.
just shifting patriarchy. So now it's
Yes,
like we're women in a man's world instead of we just live in the world cohesively.
exactly.
Um, and I
Exactly.
and I did want to pull another quote from the book
Mhm.
because it's just so great. So it says, our governments claim to value equality and justice, but are severely lacking in men passionate about equality and justice. Our democracies have a blind spot. gender justice, which demands that we put an end to inequalities between sexes. The challenge for men is not to help women become independent, but to transform the very reality of masculinity so that it is no longer a tyranny.
Mm.
T.
And I think it's also kind of rooted into this idea that men are drowning under the patriarchy right now. So it's no longer benefiting them. So when
Hmm.
you even talk to men, they're talking about how hard it is to be a man in today's society because they do have to be the provider. They still have to do all these traditional manly things in a world where they're not making enough money to even support themselves. So how can you support a wife and children and you don't even make enough money to buy a 4x4?
Oop, not the four
So
for four.
at, so at the end of the day, I think, like you said, they're kind of putting this idea of women not being traditional and being okay with being broke with them. Oh,
Mm.
back then we used to grow together. We used to do this. You have to understand the cost of living was very different. So people could have very full lives and not have a lot of money. It is
Mhm.
very hard to do that in today's time. And on top of that, you have to understand everyone's standard for a relationship is different. So now some women do want more masculine men, quote unquote, and they're okay with that traditional lifestyle. But let's be real, men do not have any problems with the patriarchy when they have money.
Mm.
It is when they are broke suddenly they have a lot of things to say.
Yeah. But see, that's the issue. The fact that men can only see a problem with patriarchy and society when it's not fulfilling them. Although in the society that we live in, women are constantly being neglected and unfulfilled unless we ourselves are making the change for it. And I think that is what gets me upset about it is because men are experiencing these rejections from society by just being themselves or not being, masculine enough or whatever. They have these desperate attempts to reclaim their identity by taking it out on women, like these podcast bros. You're telling me you took all this pent-up aggression, bought mic studio equipment, audio sound boost, and took your frustrations out on women who have nothing to do with you, don't owe you anything.
Yeah,
How about you go to the White House and demand for some change? How about you go march in the streets? Like, how about you actually go do something beneficial for your state of being and and
because
that of others?
they have to go to the weakest person because they're insecure. They know that if they go to women, it's a sign of what kind of women we all know we live in a patriarchal society. So if a man is complaining about women, anytime a man puts up a mic and starts complaining about women, watch that one. Watch that one. Gotta watch that one. Okay? There ain't nothing else need to be said.
Mm-mm,
And
mm-mm.
that's just that.
Yeah, so and the thing is it's like it's just very selfish and it comes from this egoic place of not actually seeking change. And I think that's because they tie their masculinity so close to their identity that they can't disrupt the balance that the patriarchy has set in place for them because then that would force them to look inwards and look
Yes.
within themselves, which is something that I guess they're struggling to do. Um,
And the
so it's
irony, mhm.
mhm.
Oh, and I was going to say the irony of it all is a lot of women don't mind if you don't have money. All they want from you now is empathy, regards for their feelings, actually
Just
equal
basic human
partnership.
decency.
And they're like, No, I'm not doing that." So that's really what's happening. So I've seen that too. It's just men complaining about what women want, and all of a sudden they want so much when in real life, I see women with broke men all the time.
All the time, unfortunately.
All the time.
But they're
So
happy, so hey,
happy. So is it really a problem with money? Is it really a problem with that? Or is it more so a problem with you as a person and having to change yourself in a position where you feel like women are not worthy to be changed for? And
Ooh,
and and
clock
that's
that
just
T.
sadly.
No, because that's the thing. Then they just want to get into changing women. Like they're so set in their ways and their ignorance and arrogance that they're like, no, I'm not the problem. What needs to be changed is women, whether that be
Exactly.
conforming back to historical gender norms or through religion. Suddenly y'all want You know, women who go to church and read their Bible. Like, it's giving another way to control women. Hmm.
Hmm. And I think also men are trained from an early age to learn how to manipulate women.
Mm.
And I think that's like you said, through religion, you're taught, oh, okay, the man is superior above the woman to God.
Purity
And
culture.
exactly, they're not fed those same ideologies. So we often see women going into relationships very underdeveloped, and men are often taking advantage of them
Hmm.
in these relationships. So
Hmm.
then we see this power imbalance oftentimes. And that's why I see a lot of older men go for younger girls. Oh, the world hasn't gotten to her yet. Oh, she just hasn't peaked your game yet. That's
Yeah,
all
that's
you're
really all it
saying.
is.
That's all you're saying is you're just
They be telling on
preying on
themselves.
people who do not know any better. That's all you're
It's
saying.
so weird, so manipulative. And even like I'm reading this book right now because the idea and why I mentioned religion especially is because oftentimes religion, especially when young girls, I feel like I notice young girls and just girls in general, women in general, taking more of an approach to religion before men do. And especially like in our early age. And I just thought that was interesting, but it's just I think just having certain like gender norms enforced on us is it's kind of a pipeline for us to
Yes,
naturally do
it
that.
is. Most
It's definitely
definitely.
set up that way, like with the purity culture and the ladylike business. So now you have these ideas as to what your virtue is and where your purity lies, and it's all so male-centered. Like I'm reading this book right now. It's called Annie's Baby, and it's just the most sad thing ever. It's basically about this 14-year-old girl and her first boyfriend, and he is just playing in her face. Mind you, he's like 16.
Mhm.
Already crazy. You're weird. But he's just playing in her face. But she's talked about how she went to like some Christian youth camp and talked about virtue, and she just believes that she's supposed to save him and be like this light for him. Just, he's just being influenced. He's not the type of person. But it's just this idea that women have from a very young age that we are supposed to be this beacon of light to save the man from his temptations and from himself, really, but without actually acknowledging who he really is and just giving them that benefit of the doubt without actually forcing them to take accountability. And now the blame is not only on us, but we're left to suffer the consequences of their, I
But
don't know, just their lack of
it's,
control.
I love how you brought up, that's a great point because I love how you brought up the fact that how we're trained from an early age, especially going into religion. Like I
Mm,
said, we always see that pipeline. It's always around like 24, 25. Suddenly we're very, very, very Christian in our Christian era.
mm,
And I honestly think it's rooted in the fact that because when you're socialized to constantly think you're subservient to the other gender, and then now you're in a position where you want to find a partner, you're going to feel like you need to earn his love. You
mm,
need to be righteous to be loved. And
mm,
and that is exactly rooted in the fact that they feel like men inherently deserve love. But for them, they have to earn it through being pure. They have to earn it through being quiet and submissive. Then they compare themselves to other women. And that's why they're always talking about, but do you have a ring though? The fact
mm.
that you think the pinnacle of your success is having a man ask you to marry you, that is where we need to start.
That's the issue. That's the
You
issue.
should feel like it's not a surprise that a man wants to marry you. And when you start putting yourself in a position where you're already the lesser, you're going to be in a position where you're constantly begging, and those women will end up unhappy. And the
Hmm.
reason why I say that is I'm not wishing unhappiness on you. I
It's
just
just the truth.
know you're going to accept literally a version of the man that he shows you to be because you have glossed over your eyes of religion. So he can sit there and play game on you because he read the Bible 2 times. He read a few scriptures and send it to you. Oh, he's just so
We
righteous.
prayed together.
We prayed together. Girl, he's running game on you.
Bad. And those are the worst kind. The ones who like do that spiritual warfare type ish.
Yeah.
Like that's another level of evil.
Yep.
But it's just another way. It's just very easy for the Bible's already weaponized enough, as it is, but just especially for women with the hints of the purity culture and the idea that you're supposed to be like this divine
Because
counterpart with a
what
man.
things does a man have to do to earn you being married to him?
We can make a whole
What
list on
what
that.
I mean,
That's the problem. I don't have a list. It's just like man of fear, God-fearing man, you know.
but what does that mean to you? A lot of
Hmm.
women don't actually have a standard of what they want in men, but that's what I'm saying. That is built off of experience. When you date someone, you'll know, oh, I don't like that, or I don't like
Hmm.
this. But when you're constantly told the first man you date has to be your husband,
Hmm.
yeah, you
Like
don't have enough
even in the
experience.
book, like the age gap and just like she's so fixated on the idea that, she can fix him because she just hasn't had that experience. And that's why it's so weird when men step into these performative roles that they know is going to get them what they want simply because they know that woman is either less experienced or they just know how to like, play around, come off as this one person with this mask just for what? To like take advantage of that person. Like I think at the end of the day, like man, woman, whatever, it's like because you're viewing women as lesser than you, you're taking away that humanity. You're not seeing them as an actual person, and the integrity is just completely lost. And it's another way for you to just kind of remove any type of accountability because it's like, oh, but she's a woman, so she's gonna go for this. It's
And
just
that's
what we're
why,
supposed to do. It's what men are supposed to do. So it just removes them of any responsibility and accountability, and
mhm,
they're just sitting there looking stupid and inhumane.
exactly. And that's why, as women, you should never prove your humanness. You
Mm.
should never prove your humanity. You should never beg to be listened to. Because
Because these are
when
basic
you,
human rights. Like that's such a good point. Like the
because
things that women are like begging for in relationships, they're
this is,
basic human
that's
rights.
why for me, I do not beg for any of this. I inherently know that is what I'm supposed to be given. And if I don't
Mm.
see it, sayonara,
Period. Because it's like, why would you sit here and beg this barbarian who doesn't know how to have a conversation
literally.
for the basic necessities of personhood? You know,
And
it doesn't make any sense.
again, it's this idea that women, that and that's why men run game on women, in my opinion, is because women like to act as if they're the prize, but they don't believe it.
Because
And
even the idea that like you can change and that makes you special, but you don't actually believe you were special because you'd be taking your services elsewhere for someone who could acknowledge and appreciate them.
exactly. And then on top of that, a man will actually feel more like a man when he has to rise to the occasion to be with you.
Hmm.
He didn't have to do anything.
Hmm.
That's why he act like that.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just
it's
saying.
and it's really not even to like, bash, the naive women in this. It's just like
It's a system. It
it's
was
it's a
made like
system.
that. It's the system. It was
It's a system.
created for you to be like that. That's why,
Like I feel like, oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh, that's why I said that's why even with certain stuff going on with pop culture, like we had the Halle Bailey situation. You have people tell her, "Oh, we warned her before and we did this and XYZ and she's getting bashed and all these things." And when you really just think about it just from what it is, the system was made for that situation to occur.
Immediately.
Like it literally just was set up like that. So it's more of the fact that we do not hold men accountable. No, I'm not even going to say that. Men do not hold other men accountable because
Hmm.
that's really what it is. If we
Hmm.
had more barber shops where talked about, bruh, marry her, bruh, don't treat a woman like this, or this
Hmm.
is how this affects her, and actually cares about her opinion and her voice instead of being like, bruh, how many have you cracked this week? If that was
No,
the
literally.
conversation would change, we would
And I
see a
think that's
difference.
what I was getting at in the beginning of like, okay, yeah, you're reading the feminist literature. Okay, you're drinking the dirty chais. Like, okay, but like, what are you doing to actually make any change to make women feel safe? What are you actually doing to show up as a better man? Like, what are you doing when you're not online? Like, how are we actually holding these conversations and holding other men
Yes.
around you accountable?
And I think
Um,
what it is too, it's rooted in this fact that men hold other men's opinion as law.
mhm.
So when another man disagrees with another man, he won't correct him because he finds his voice meaningful. But
Right.
as soon as a
Just because a
woman's
man.
just inherently him being a man, but as soon as a woman says something that they disagree with, it's correct her, make her do
Right.
this,
Check her.
check her,
Yeah.
because they
And
don't value her opinion.
And I want to take this probably gonna be the last one from the book. But it's just so good. Y'all can please read the book. Okay. So same book,
Hmm.
and I think it displays pretty clearly as to what we're saying here. Okay. How can we prevent men from trampling on the rights of women? What does it mean to be a good guy with respect to equality between the sexes? This is a real challenge, both physically, both, both psychologically, and socially. Creating new models of masculinity requires goodwill and personal effort, but it must stem chiefly from a political rationale. Today, we need egalitarian men who care more about respect than power. Just men, but men who are just. And I think that really resonates with me because even when we look at patriarchy and society, um, the in the book as well, the author mentions a lot of other philosophers like John Stuart Mill and other male philosophers who have made their efforts to bring attention to feminism and women's rights, but it's only at the expense of what they're willing to put out, and it never supersedes their own beliefs or the world around them. So it's not as effective because we're focusing so much on making women men's equals rather than we are bringing equality just to the table in general. Like we shouldn't have to,
Exactly.
work our way up the male ladder to be seen as human beings.
Exactly.
Um, so even in issues of like patriarchy and things like that, it's frustrating when men can't see things outside of their own lens because they just, they're gaining from it.
Well, I kind of think you're right too, because even when I think about it, it's really kind of based on this idea where women will literally tell men, this is what we want, and this is how we think, and this is how we can actually progress in society altogether.
Hmm.
And it's not even inherently that we want to be men's equals, it's that we are. So I'm just saying, like we don't
No, that's real.
try to be someone's equal. We're
Hmm.
literally the yin and yangs of each other.
Mm.
So that inherently gives 50-50. So to try to sit here as a woman and convince men as a society to see us, to hear us, to do all those things, it's futile and it's inherently dehumanizing. So that's just that.
I agree. It's just honestly, it's just, I think the issue is, even with us having this conversation, this isn't necessarily an attempt for men to hear us. It's just a critique. But at the end of the day,
Exactly.
it's just the conversation that we're having. Like, how often are men having these conversations about masculinity, about what it means to really break down the societal pressures and norms of masculinity outside of the range of it affecting them? Like, it's very lacking. And in order to see change,
I mean, even look at
I guess we do
Kanye
need them.
when he came out with that song and he was talking about women and all the women he was kind of degrading. And now that he has daughters, he's like, ugh. So it's
But you
only
see how
when
performative that was?
it is performative because he's still doing it, of course.
Exactly, with
But
his daughters.
exactly. But it's also the fact that they don't view their daughters as women. They view their daughters as an extension of themselves.
Hmm.
So when we actually start to come to society where we start to view women as ourselves, and you guys claim to be Christian men, and you say, doesn't the Bible say, love your wife like you love yourself? Y'all don't do that.
No, for real. Because where in the Bible does it say chastise women? Like I'm so sick of even like this whole like the gym conversation with the gym. I'm so sick of all of a sudden men are modest Mary. All of a
They're
sudden
not
y'all care about
modest.
women having on a lot of clothes.
And it's so funny.
Y'all are the
It's
same
not
one who
even,
grew up with like t models of in bikinis on your wall,
and
and
they're fine with that.
they're fine with that. That's normal.
It's because women are in a place where they're not allowed to sexualize them.
Hmm.
So when women are in a place where they feel like, oh, they have less clothes on, but I can't sexualize her and it's wrong, I don't like
Hmm.
this feeling. Because usually when a woman looks like that, I can sexualize her. It's
Mm.
normal. It's cool. I'm one of the bros.
Mm.
But now when it's seen as something that's rude and inappropriate and wrong, it's like saying, "Oh, wait, so your body's actually yours?"
Right.
Oh yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think that's something a lot of men seem to be struggling with in general, with the shift in masculinity and in society in general, with women not necessarily needing them anymore, is just the lack of entitlement that comes with that. Because now, like I said, like before, women were property, like just to be sold. That's my wife. You can't do anything without me. And now to see women be individuals as human beings and have autonomy, it seems like they're taking that rather hard.
Mhm.
Why that
And
is,
and
I
the
don't know.
thing is, I do want to make a point to say that it is not all men. I
No, yeah, like
don't
trigger
know.
warning.
Yeah, it is not all men, honestly. It's really just this is an insecure men epidemic.
It's just unfortunate.
That's really what it is, if I'm being
Oh, no, because y'all want to talk about male loneliness epidemic. Like,
This is a
no.
insecure man epidemic because only an insecure man would worry about what a woman has on, would worry about what a woman makes, would worry about what a woman has going on and how a woman even views them. A
Mm,
real man does not care about how you view him. He cares about being a leader and he cares about look, if you're following him, he's cool. You know what I'm saying? If he's a real masculine man, he's not worried. He's not trying to go toe to toe with you. As soon as you
mm.
see a man start arguing with you, pack
It's
it up,
clipped. It's
pack it up,
clipped.
pack it up. A real man is going to be like, I hear you. Okay. And move on. They're
You
not
see
going to
how attractive that was? I could have
stay.
mistaken you for a man just right then
I
and
know,
there.
right?
Like, you see, and that's the thing that blows me. Is like, do y'all actually like women? Like, just in general, like as like for real? Because like, if you really did, wouldn't you want to do the things that a woman wants you to do?
Because the men that actually like women, they call simps.
Mm.
So then they use the patriarchy and the whole masculinity trope to degrade men who are actually heterosexual. That's just that.
Mm.
I don't know. It's really
Mm.
sad.
That's a
And
really good
then
point.
and then you have the pick Mishas who never get picked, by the way, who are sitting there like, yeah, those women need to put some clothes on.
Girl,
Like, girl, get out of
they're
here.
talking about
They're
you. They're laughing at
they're
you.
literally laughing at you
Like you're not one of the bros at
at
all.
all.
And I don't know. And I think that's really like one of the bigger issues is with this idea that men have the right, the audacity, but they feel so entitled to talk about the things that they don't like about women or that they feel women owe them. But when it's time to talk about women's rights, all are hush hush.
Yeah.
Like suddenly that has nothing to do with me.
Because real men don't care what women got going on. They're gonna let women be women. Oh, she has makeup on, cool. That's what women do. Oh,
Mm,
she's in her little workout outfit, cool. That's what women do. Like
mm.
the fact that these men are so involved in the lives
Too
of
involved.
just so involved. It's very apparent because think about it, even as women, we're not involved in what men really have going on.
Don't
We
care.
really don't care because what they have going on is none of our business. It's only when it starts to impact our world is when we say something.
Hmm.
Because what are you talking about my outfit for? What are you
Right.
talking about
Like
me
you
wearing
came
makeup
into
for?
my space, even just to add to that point of the whole idea of men and their turmoil with themselves, really, because that's who they're really angry at. When we come into this idea of, the male loneliness epidemic in the manosphere or whatever, I feel like in that instance, what we're seeing is, like you said, the insecure men. That's really what it is. It's not the fact that men are lonely, it's just the fact that they're insecure about their feeling of lack and taking it out on women. But when women are telling you what it is that we want, so that way you're not lonely, at least, you'll at least have something. But also just how we're suffering in society or, how things are affecting us, y'all don't want to hear it. I mean, women have literally been lonely for God knows how long, and it's been ostracized. It's been a joke. Y'all call her like, gonna
Cat
be old with cats. Like you
lady.
literally threaten us with loneliness, but we're supposed to care about your loneliness. Mm,
Hmm. Women have been conditioned to be relationship centered, constantly telling you what you need to be and do and act like to get a man, to keep a man. However, in reality, it's women being forced to be in relationships to where they're not fulfilled so they can be perfect in the eyes of God.
mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Because like the idea of what it is to be a good wife or a helpmate or a good mother is all within this rigid idea rooted in the eyes of God per se. But it's like, first of all, why would God's over here looking at you suffering like, damn, and everyone gone.
Literally.
God is not happy with this.
And
Like, let's
that's
be
why,
real.
literally, and that's why you often see women 3 kids later divorcing their husbands after they realize this is not fulfilling.
Mhm. It's just a shame that from our youth, we are conditioned to believe that tying in our purity with somebody else. Like our purity is not even for our own sake, it's for the sake of the man and what we can bring for the man instead of us just being pure on our own inherently. So now that coupled with the conditioning of gender norms and what it means to be feminine, what it means to be a woman, now we're seeing women enter these relationships really young. And now they have to devote themselves some type of Christianity, some type of belief, so that way they have some type of like solace, something to ease the pain because they're actually suffering and they're
Yeah,
very much aware that they're suffering, but they just have to like dilute it with scripture and imagine it as a type of trial because if they admit their defeat, their unhappiness, it's like the whole world comes shattering down and it's like, oh, maybe this isn't what I actually wanted.
exactly.
But the idea that like women have to even like prove themselves or ourselves to men for the sake of being a good wife is just ridiculous. Like as if, I don't know, like it's just like I think it's just stemmed from the idea of this of God being a man, because then it's almost like women are always supposed to be indebted to men.
Yeah.
But who set that system up?
I mean, they literally told you the hierarchy was God, men, women, then children. Guess what? How many of y'all have talked to God? None. So who are
My
y'all
thing
really
is
talking
like,
to? Men.
who my thing is like, who told y'all like that men were the closest thing to God, though? Do y'all bring life onto this planet? Oh, and just,
There
to
goes
play
the king.
devil's advocate here, you're telling me everything on this planet has an X and Y chromosome except for the heavens above? You're telling me there's female, male, everything? There's a representation of divine union everywhere except for in the spiritual plane?
Mm, somebody's lying.
Somebody's lying. Somebody's lying.
Mhm. Even
And oh, go ahead.
even when you look at the way that society's built today, they literally planted male trees everywhere so you wouldn't have fruit.
So now we all got these damn allergies on behalf of
Literally,
what? The seed of life.
literally. But when we think about what actually where life comes from, where the fruit of life comes
See,
from,
that's
it's through women, and they know
that's
it.
another thing too. Like low key, like how they'd be saying, like, oh, well, I gave you my seed, so that's how there's life. There was no life in the womb. Bro, we are literally watching the manifestation of your seed being spread everywhere with this plant nut, and what it's doing, making everybody sick. It's making everybody sick. I can't even go outside. I can't breathe.
Literally. Pollen
That's what
got y'all messed up. Because you see,
that's
when it's too much of it, it's causing a
unbalanced.
reaction.
It's causing a physical, visceral
Reaction. It's
reaction.
visceral reaction.
Like because there is no feminine to balance it out. And that's nothing short of
Exactly.
intentional.
Exactly. And I think all of this is saying too, like, we need masculine, we need feminine, but you cannot degrade the feminine to lift up the masculine. And that's the issue here, is this big unequally yoked system that we have going on where you want to suppress the ideas, you want to suppress the voices of women to inherently say that men are closer to God, because that's literally what you're saying.
And I think the problem is
Hmm.
because they have it reversed.
Yeah.
They have to go so hard to push themselves up because that is not their role. Their role
Mhm.
has always been and will always be to lift up women. And they are sadly mistaken and confused if they think
Yeah.
that we are supposed to be the ones doing the lifting. Don't y'all brag about that? Like how much you lift in the gym and shit? Like that's literally like your role
Yeah.
is to lift up women. That's why they have to go so hard to suppress women and our voices because without it, they that can finally feel almost as if they're reaching half of the ounce of inherent spirituality that women have and possess.
hmm Even
naturally.
like their ideas of what women are attracted to, it's not even based on women, it's based on men. That's why they're lonely. Because yeah, you're right. The gym bros will go to the gym and do all this and work out, be able to push up 300, but the average woman really does not care about that. She wants her
At
man to be
all.
emotionally intelligent. She
Exactly.
wants her man to be kind. She wants a friend. She wants a partner. She wants somebody they can have deep conversations with. You guys and y'all surface level conversations, if you think that's gonna cut it, and it's not, which is why you're single.
And I think that's the issue is like y'all are I'm not even trying to throw no shade, but we need men to bring back real hobbies and real like intellectual stimulation. Like the issue is y'all are not keeping up with women. And I don't know if that's because of the rise of like streamer content or whatever. I mean, I think that's just, always been a thing. But like if y'all don't go read a book, like I
Yeah.
think that's the issue. Y'all are struggling to just keep up with women intellectually. And you feel like, oh, that's how women are, and we're just superseding your mindset. Men just don't think that way. No, you're just not challenging yourself ever.
Yes. But
Like,
and that's what I'm saying. It's based in a society where men do not tell men to do that. Because if you
mm,
think about it, women are having these challenging conversations with each other. Women talk to each other about these things. So I don't think necessarily women need to make men do this. It's men need to get together and be
no, for
like,
sure.
y'all, ain't shit funny. Let's start doing something for real. Like,
Yeah,
ain't nothing funny. And I can say in my real life, I've been around men and they've had deep conversations. So it really just depends on the type of men
for
that
sure.
these men are having around them.
No, that's my
And
thing. It's like
yeah,
men are fully capable of this. They are
fully.
just so used to being enabled because they live in a society where they don't have to do much at all. And they're
Exactly.
respected. They are garnered attention with what they say in any room that they walk in just because of what's between their legs.
And money
So,
don't unlame you.
at all,
Money don't unlame you. And I
at
think
all.
that's another thing when you said rise in streamer content and things like that. And that's what I'm saying. There's times to laugh, but there's times to be so for real. Like you
Hmm.
need to be so for real. And when you as men hold each other accountable and can be actually be able to discuss things going on in your life in a way where you guys can have meaningful discussions and actual actions of change, that's when men and women can have that equal partnership and actually grow together. Because right now you can't expect, oh, these same lame conversations I'm still hearing. We're still having the same conversations we were having in 2016. That's a problem.
That's a problem. Even like this idea of like growing together. Y'all want a woman to be a ride or die. Y'all want her to hold you down. Who's holding her up? Like y'all talking about, oh, let's grow together. We gotta start from nothing. You're starting from nothing.
Yeah, we
I'm
still,
coming with something.
yeah,
And that's the problem. Y'all are mad that I'm not letting go of the stuff that I have or letting you leech off of my something while you sit around and have nothing.
literally.
No, I'm not going for that. So it's either get it together or, get it together. There's really no other option,
Yeah,
I'm not
there's
gonna
really
lie.
no
There's no
other
other
option.
option.
There's
Like,
no
there's no other option because
other.
I wouldn't want anyone to suffer through that of having to hold a man up by his bootstraps, like,
Yeah.
got two walking legs. But hey,
Even
um,
when we talk about this topic of like submission and things like that, if you ask the average woman, oh, I would just say from my opinion, because I'm not going to say the average one. I'm just going to say from just my opinion. It's nice when a man can have you quiet. Like, wait, hold on. You did something there. You kind of ate with that one. You know what I'm saying? When a man could actually lead and it's genuine and it's not in a way of like tyranny, it's in a way of actual masculinity. And I think that's what we have to reframe what masculinity is,
mhm,
because I do think masculinity is rooted in a dominance, but it's not rooted in a power play. You know what
mhm.
I'm
It's
saying? It's
rooted from like respect.
respect. And I think when you both have equal respect for each other, that is where relationships can truly grow from that, because everyone's going to have their own opinion on whether they want a traditional relationship or not. But how can you have a traditional relationship with no mutual respect? Like, I
It's
think
not gonna
that's
work.
that's what it is. We just have to reframe what we think a traditional relationship is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Even I like the idea of what you're saying, like a man making you quiet. And because immediately for me, like what comes to mind is not a man making you feel like you don't have a voice, but a man who can quiet your mind and make you
Yes.
feel seen and
Don't
heard without having to say or do anything.
You don't
They're
have to
on it.
ask.
You don't have
You
to
don't have to
ask.
ask for anything. You look up,
Hmm.
it's done.
They
Oh,
should just know. They should just
just
know.
no.
And it's not because
Mhm.
you're asking anything like hard. It's literally just like, to me, it's the
They
bare
see
minimum.
what
They
you
see it.
see. Like, even when we're talking about even just as simple as household chores. The fact that you feel like it's all on you as a woman to clean the house and you're not looking up and he's folding the clothes. Now you can go wash the dishes. Now you can go do something else. Or y'all
Hmm.
can have a partnership and y'all can have a teamwork where it shows that mutual respect. But if that man just leaves his plate on the counter and expects you to pick it up and you think that's a traditional relationship, good luck, sister. Because you got another thing coming. You're his mom.
No, literally, like you're stepping into the mommy role. And
Yes.
it's like the idea of the weaponizing competence. Men are very much aware. They're not
Hmm.
stupid. They're
And
very
there's
much
and
aware.
why is cleaning gender rolled? Why is cooking gender rolled? Why is respect gender rolled? And that's another thing, even when we talk about topics of submission. There are times where both parties are supposed to submit to each other, and that's in the Bible. So clock that. Y'all literally want to sit here, read one scripture, and act as if that's the law, and y'all don't even read the full book. Let's read like two scriptures down,
Let's have some like comprehensive skills. How about that? Y'all
please.
don't even understand what you're reading. Context
Literally.
clues,
And
part of
exactly, and
that.
literally, that's what I'm saying. Like masculine and feminine energy, they bounce off of each other. So when you give, he needs to give. There's times where you're giving and he's getting, and vice versa. Like this whole idea that they want women to just shut up and clean is tired.
Y'all better hire a maid because it ain't me.
So yeah, we touched on a lot of deep topics here today, y'all. Hopefully we got something moving in your cerebral fluid. Something, please. But at the end of the day, it's very important to understand that men and women should not be at odds with each other. We should be allies. There
Hmm.
should not be this big debate within each other all the time. We're still talking about stuff from 2016, y'all. We got to get it together.
Getting pissed off.
We got to get it together.
No, I really like that point. I think it is what we allow to create these gender wars, is the gender roles and the traditional values that we hold on to as to what a man looks like or what a woman is supposed to be. All these expectations without any actual accountability. And so I think we just need to let that go and remember that first and foremost, we're all human beings, and we should have that mutual respect for one another. And I think after that, everything will seamlessly flow into place.
Exactly.
Um, it's going to take some change, though, some real change, because we do live, unfortunately, in a patriarchal society. So this toxic masculinity is embedded in our laws and our culture, especially here in
Hmm.
America.
Exactly.
So there's some change to be made. But I like the direction we're headed in. I do see
Hmm.
men having some good conversations about this. So, y'all are not incapable. So to me, whenever I see those men, it reminds me that men are in fact not incapable. So it's a good thing to see, but it's also like the rest of y'all better tighten the fuck up.
Exactly. And
Tighten up.
like you just said, with the men being capable, I've seen when men are deep and when men do have these conversations, other men who are lame want to make fun of them, want to bully them, want to bully the sanity out of them. It's insane.
Bully the intelligence out of them.
Literally saying, "Oh, bro, you're getting too deep now." I don't. Stop.
Is there even such a thing?
No such thing.
I don't think so. But anyways, thank you so much for joining us.
Great
Hope you
conversation.
enjoyed. I do have a little tea quote here for us today from
Mhm.
my triple mint tea. It says, in all things of nature, there is something of the marvelous. And that was Aristotle, y'all's favorite male philosopher. So, yeah, just sit with that. I think there's something marvelous in the works here and something a little marvelous in all of us that should be appreciated and acknowledged regardless of gender identity.
Period.
Period.
Have a good one, y'all.
Come back for more.
Bye.
Bye.